What's up, Richard? Tim Moose here. With his return to the big screen this week in the new Joe Cohen film, Honey Don't, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Chris Evans movies. Because the guy's obviously done comic book roles, he's done like non comic book films as well. I've always liked Chris Evans, whether it's like Steve Rogers, whether it's, you know, whether it's his early days with, Nana, Team Movie. Like, who doesn't love Chris Evans, right? So here are my official top 10 favorite Chris Evans movies. Alright. Number 10 is The Gray Man. Now, one of the times he actually played a bad guy. Like, you don't really see him much as, like, the villain in his past stuff. So, it was cool seeing him really branch out into a villain role here. Obviously, he did reunite with the Russo brothers following the MCU and stuff. This is, of course, about CIA operative Sierra 6, who is hunted by a sociopathic mercenary Lloyd Henson, played by Evans, who, after uncovering agency secrets, and The Gray Man it didn't really get much love at the time, when it was released, but I actually had a fun time with it. It's far better than Electric State. Like, say what you want about The Gray Man, even haters of The Gray Man can't deny that it's better than The Electric State. But Chris Evans is really great here. Of course, him going toe-to-toe with Ryan Gosling is great. Obviously, he's worked with Ana de Armas. I mean, far better than Ghosted, that's for sure, too. Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, he has a really, he really, relishes a bad guy role perfectly, bring a manic energy, and sharp wit, to a antagonist. And he's really good here. Alright. Coming in at number 9 is his early role, and that is Not Another Teen Movie. Now, of course, here you got Chris Evans, who plays, the handsome jock, Jake, who's a shallow quarterback who evolves from a stereotypical jerk to a slightly less stereotypical hero here. Obviously, he is poking fun at the teen movie's antics. And Not Another Teen Movie is, of course, I think it was actually his first film, if I'm not mistaken. So, well, I think it was his first. Let me double check. He did, small stuff here and there. But this was actually, his first major film gig. But still, it is a really good performance. Really hilarious here. Not Another Teen Movie is definitely one of the funniest teen comedies of that era. Of course, you had Jamie Presley, Charlotte, Eric Olsen, Randy Quaid, Lacey Chabert. Obviously, poking fun at the teen genre, which was pretty fun too. So, really hilarious teen comedy. Worth giving a go there. All right, number 8 is Gifted. Now, of course, Gifted also stars McKenna Grace, who's right now blowing up pretty good with that new film, Regretting You. She's in the new Scream movie. She's actually a pretty good young actress here. And I guess say this was her first, she's did stuff beforehand, she had roles in, Fuller House and stuff. But this was actually, I guess, say her breakout role, really. Gifted, of course, she pretty much plays a young Sheldon type character, which is funny because she was also on Young Sheldon. But of course, here you got Chris Evans, who plays Frank, who's a single uncle who raises his niece Mary, who's a child math prodigy. And when, of course, her genius attracts attentions, he, fights with his mother's push to a high pressure academics life here. And his chemistry with his on-screen niece, played by McKenna Grace, is great. Of course, you have Octavia Spencer. You also have, what else was in this one? Jenny Slate is in this. It's really decent. Great performances all around. Really good little film there. Alright. Coming in at number 7 is another comic book movie that he actually has a lot of comic book adaptations. Not just Marvel and DC, but he also had The Losers. Of course, The Losers is a lot of fun. It's about CIA special ops whose team is betrayed during a mission and presumed dead here, and so he seeks revenge on their double-crossing handler Max here. And Evans plays Jensen, who's a team tech expert and wisecracking hacker here. And you had some great cast members like Idris Elba, Zoe Saldana, Columbus Short, some really good supporting players. It is a lot of fun, great action. Chris Evans steals so many scenes here. Really fun film. Such a shame they never did a sequel to this, but I don't think the movie did all that great. Alright. Number 6 is Cellular. Cellular, I feel like, doesn't really get talked about as much. Of course, here you got Jason Statham, who actually plays a villain, which this is actually one of the few times he actually played the bad guy. I think this is the only time. I gotta check his credits. But, of course, Cellular is about a young man named Ryan who answers a random call from a kidnapped woman named Jessica, who's locked in the attic. And so he must race against time to save her and her family from criminals and all. And Chris Evans really plays his part very well. Really entertaining here. Of course, he also had like William H. Macy, Jessica Biel, Kim Basinger, the aforementioned Jason Statham. Directed by David R. Ellis, who sadly did pass away a few years ago. But he directed stuff like Snakes on a Plane, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 4. This is actually one of the few times that one of the few movies he directed that isn't straight up horror, But Cellular is a really fun one. I don't know. They could probably still make this movie today, probably. But it is really cool work. There we go. Alright. Coming in at number 5 is Knives Out. Now, Knives Out, of course, is directed by Ron Johnson, starring Daniel Craig. Where like a wealthy patriarch, does get killed, and a detective investigates his dysfunctional family, uncovering lies and motives here. And Knives Out is a lot of fun. Love the mystery aspects. Chris Evans is great. Ana de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Plummer. Of course, Chris Evans plays Ransom Drysdale, who's a sharp-tongued entitled grandson who clashes with his family over their inheritance. And Chris Evans really plays his part very well. Of course, Ana de Armas is great here. He really traces his heroic image for like a smug villain type role. And obviously, I guess it makes sense for him to really go with the bad guy route because obviously, those years he always was known playing more like the hero type character. So seeing him really go more like the villain role with this and Gray Man is very interesting to say the least. Alright, number 4 is Fantastic Four. Of course, obviously, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is... You know what? Joseph Quinn is great. Michael B. Jordan is great. But I still think the best on-screen Johnny Storm is actually probably slightly still Chris Evans. I mean, he's still... Yeah, there was the 2007 one. But I'm talking about just the first one. The first Fantastic Four movie from 2005 is a lot of fun. I really quite enjoy it a lot. Of course, seeing Evans, play like the douchey type character as Johnny Storm is very cool. Playing the cocky, thrill-seeking playboy who can engulf himself in flames here is great. Of course, him playing like the brotherly to Jessica Alba, Sue Storm is great. He has a really fun comedic timing here. And obviously, this was his like earliest superhero gig, and he will go on to play another major Marvel character, which I'll talk about here in a bit. And of course, obviously, it was really cool to see him back as Johnny Storm in Deadpool & Wolverine. And before you ask why Deadpool & Wolverine's on this list, well, let's be real, that's just a cameo. It's not really any go by. So, yeah, that's kind of why Deadpool & Wolverine's on this list. But still, Fantastic Four is a really fun one. Alright, number 3 is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Another comic book adaptation Chris Evans was in. Of course, here you got Chris Evans, who plays Lucas Lee, who's a second evil ex, who is, of course, one of the second evil ex, who's a smug skateboarding action star, who's posed as like a stunt double. He's very arrogant and he has a really fun celebrity status. He is really hilarious throughout. Really plays his part very well here. He definitely is really great. Of course, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is great in this. Michael Cera. Obviously, some of the other evil exes include like Jason Schwartzman. Scott Pilgrim is just a lot of fun, I'll say at least. Of course, directed by Edgar Wright, who did a great job. I really quite enjoy Scott Pilgrim. Alright, number 2 is obviously the Avengers franchise. Obviously him as Steve Rogers is one of the greatest comic book castings in years. Obviously the first Avengers he was great in. He really came into his own with the last, Avengers films. Obviously, seeing him finally saying "Avengers Assemble" was one of the highlight moments. I still remember seeing Avengers Endgame in theaters. That Avengers Assemble moment was a big pop in that theater, and yeah, whether we actually get to see Chris Evans back in the MCU again in Doomsday, Secret Wars, that has to win, obviously. And obviously, his best film is none other than the Captain America franchise. I would have gone either just one, or I'm just going to go for them. The Captain America franchise is fun. I mean, honestly, the best is probably Winter Soldier is great, but I still say Civil War is the best. Seeing like the Civil War action was pretty cool here. Seeing Chris Evans, go toe to toe with Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark was great. I mean, I just think the Captain America movies, like going all the way back to the first Avengers, to Civil War, Chris Evans just plays his part very well. I mean, there's been other actors that were gonna play the role at one point, like John Krasinski, many others. But I'm so glad that they went with Chris Evans. Coming off of playing a comic character in Fantastic Four, he just nails it every inch. He does. Like, I love the suits they always gave him. I mean, it is such a shame that we probably won't really get to see him as Captain America again. Now we got, obviously Anthony Mackie, who, hey, Anthony Mackie is a good Captain America, but nothing beats Steve Rogers. Let's be real. But whether we actually get Chris Evans back in the MCU in either Secret Wars, Doomsday, we'll have to wait and see there. But yeah, Chris Evans, just him and Robert Downey Jr. just made these characters work perfectly. Well, that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, The Gray Man. 9, 9 Team Movie. 8, Gifted. 7, The Losers. 6, Cellular. 5, Knives Out. 4, Fantastic Four. 3, Scott Pilgrim. 2, The Avengers franchise. And number 1 is the Captain America franchise. Now, there's also some other ones I could have added. Definitely not Ghosted. That was terrible. He did have a little small role in Ant-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming, which was cool. He had a little cameo in Captain Marvel. Doll Up The Dark World, but that's not really anything to go by. Let's see. Materialist, he was just in this past year with Dakota Johnson. He was good in that, but I don't think it's his best work. Let's see. Lightyear, which I thought was just okay. His cameo on Free Guy was pretty good. Definitely not playing it cool. That was actually terrible. Snowpiercer, he was great in. The Iceman, What's Your Number? Puncture, Push, Shriek Kings. I mean, the list goes on and on. He has a really the Nanny Diaries that he did with not Dakota Johnson. With Scarlett Johansson was pretty good too. I mean, who doesn't love Chris Evans, right? Anyway, let me ask you guys, what are some of your favorite Chris Evans movies? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Sammy.